Alright, in the middle of all this, I've made some changes. Number one, I changed the oil. Number two, I had to drop the idle down by about 500 RPM after changing the oil. And for those of you who want to know, I put 1 quart of Marvel Mist Oil in there and 4 quarts of 10W40. Now, and the oil filter. In order to seal the radiator, we're going to use some K-Seal. Because I'm not going to pay to have the radiator record. But look at that! A kinked lower radiator hose that's not visible from the top. That is why this thing wants to run hot. I guarantee. Oh, and they stuck a bolt in where the petcock used to be. This is not a good idea because the bolt is iron. So all you're going to do is twist the fitting out of the radiator, or you're going to crack the solder. So that's why I'm taking the hose off, which is why I found the kink. Just more work, that's all. Just more work. Basically, I just wanted to drain this so I can put the K-Seal in it. It's not rusty at all. After all, it's been empty for 10 years. One thing leads to another. So, cleaned out the holes, cleaned up the bolts, cleaned out the holes in the thermostat. A little bit of RTV on there. Got to have the thermostat out if we're going to do the K-Seal thing, because I want the radiator to not leak. If anybody buys this car, they ain't going to know you're going to have to do something with this radiator, but you can still drive it. If you want to test drive it, you can. That's the whole point of doing this. Your price will never go up. Start them all before you tighten in. On a 2-bolt flange, always torque down as evenly as possible. This is all going to come right back apart again. So essentially, we're just snugging these. Click. 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 Now I gotta wait for that to cure. In the meantime, I once before told you this was a Posi. And that's because I tried to roll the wheel while it was in park with one wheel up in the air, and I couldn't do it. With it in park with both wheels up in the air, and I couldn't do it. Pretty good indication you got a Posi. Although, I think the correct nomenclature in this case would be a limited slip. Some of you can correct me if I'm wrong, because you will. I really got to get me a nose ring for this thing. Two Timken boxes you saw earlier, or the axle seals. Oh, she's ready for changing anyway. And I still can't roll it over. It smells sulfurous. Look at that. Spring packs. There's no tag on this thing. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Now, it's kind of a pain in the butt because to change the axle seals, you got to pull the axles because it's a full floating, a non-floating axle. Let's take a look at how things look. Looking at the coast side, it's fabulous. And on the drive side, look at that. There's hardly any wear on that thing at all. Look at that. Could it possibly be that's the actual mileage on this car? What's showing on the odometer? I wouldn't think that had 100,000 on it. That's for sure. So I've got to take this all apart so I can push the axles in, take the C-locks off, pull the axles out, change grease seals. Yeah, wasn't, and now I'm gonna. You know, this may be easier than an open diff because all I really gotta do is pull this pin to pull that pin. And in an open diff, when you go to turn this, the side gears want to walk, the sides and spiders. But with that spring pack in there, maybe they'll just stay put. I wonder. Well, it won't be no fun getting them C-clips back in. I don't know. I ain't never done this before. We're gonna find out. That wasn't very tight. Wow. I had a 64 Buick LeSabre, 4-door. Best car I ever owned. It's a fabulous car. Started making this clunk ka-chunk noise going around corners, and then went from clunk ka-chunk to kabang kabang. Pulled it out, and this bolt had backed out, and the pin fell out and just messed everything up. Fortunately, that car had a carrier, and all I had to do was drop the whole carrier out, just like the trucks do. Put another carrier in it. Then I sold it to my brother-in-law's brother for $50. We were moving. Mom and Dad wouldn't let me take it with us. I wanted to preserve it until such a time as I could get settled in, and the thing was, I was buying it back from him for $50 because he hated it. He didn't like that car, but he didn't have any money and he needed a car. There was a bar that he frequented. Some of the patrons of the bar didn't like me. And that wasn't a bar thing, that was a high school thing as to why they didn't like me, because some people just don't like other people. And that's just the way it is. Anyway, the ignitions can be left unlocked. And he left the ignition unlocked. Whoop, don't you do that. So they stole the car and took it out, and you always had to top off the radiator. So they went and just ran it and flogged it until they melted a hole right through number 5 piston. And number 7 was all dished down, and number 3 was slightly dished down. And it was junk. It was a 300 aluminum head V8. Blew a hole through the water jacket in the head. Melted a hole through the aluminum head right into the water jacket. Made me sick. Anyway, I gotta find a clean place to put these pins. That noise you're hearing is where the fence is connected to the fence post, and where the goat is trying to shove itself through the fence as far as it can possibly go, because the grass is always greener. Oh, it is. They're walking. Don't like walking. You can't just move the one, you got to move them both at the same time. I guess it's just that one dude doing that. Okay, so if I push the axle in, that releases the C-clip. I can get the magnet to stop clipping onto everything else. And the races look fabulous. The axle is the inner race. The blackberries are always greener on the other side of the fence. Hey, it's free food. I think I'll keep the dirt out of that bearing. Like it. There are several methods one can use when removing old seals. One is to just take a big old screwdriver in there, like that, and then you stick something under it for a fulcrum, like that. Except for round, hard, shiny things don't work very well because they tend to slide. However, hammer handles work nicely. They tend to not slide as much, only when you don't have brake shoes in the way. And then you've got the flat bar, because the flat bar goes up in there real nice. In behind it, tap it up with the hammer, and just pop that puppy out of there. Like that. And when you have a set of seal drivers, it works really great for putting seals back in here. But when you don't have a set of seal drivers, you take your nice standard block of wood, and ever so gently drive her home. Need a bigger hammer. Fully seated. Lube your lip. I've heard lubed lips sink ships, but I've never seen it done, so I have to question its veracity. Like that. Now, when I do this side, it's going to look just like the other side. If you were paying attention just a few minutes ago, you saw these. Since I've already done the video of removing and installing shoes, which I haven't posted yet, but undoubtedly by the time I post this one, I will have gotten a ton of comments about how I shouldn't have done what I did in the previous video. Those critics can now rest assured that there are new brake shoes on the back of this car. But there's no point in doing it all over again. So we're going to find something else in 3, 2, 1. Oh, I forgot to show you on the other side what happens when you have the proper tool for going in and pulling seals. But just what part of redneck do you not understand? Yeah, what she said. The battery's almost dead. Why won't you go on? Why? Uh-oh. Stuck. How can it be stuck? That's how. Not quite in the groove, hey man. axle isn't all the way in. I can't get it to go back. What giveth? Huh. So apparently I've pushed it in too far. Look at it. Got to go back to the clean room to get my pin. Look at that. There's just hardly any wear in this thing at all. Lost my spider gear. Oh, it's just the thrust bearing that was walking on me, not the gear. Oh, all the way through. Let's see how well I landed up. Not so well, I guess. Well, now. Yeah, it's off. Look at it. I gotta go put it in park so I can click it. This actually looks like it'll fit. It does. Except it's going the wrong way. I guarantee you that's tighter than what it was when I took it apart. I guarantee. Click! Oh, I hate it when the gaskets break. Another 12 bucks I don't have to spend. Or right now it's another 12 bucks I have to spend. It did come off nice and clean, so I don't have to do a whole lot to the surfaces. Nice and clean and dry up above. Hey, if you've ever watched Gale Banks, he did a whole series on diff covers. The aluminum diff covers that are supposed to cool. They get down about toward the end of that whole thing, and then they never posted anything. Never posted a final video until months later. He'd be pretty intrigued with the design on the back of this thing, in case you haven't noticed what that looks like. And what that does is it directs the gear lube. Because as you're going down the road, this thing is slinging the gear lube into the cover. And it's slinging it up and it's hitting here and cascading back down. So when it's cascading back down, it's hitting these channels and running off and directing it to the bearings on either side. So Gale Banks didn't see this one. But he made an aluminum one, kind of like it. If he's willing to send me one, I'll put it on. But I ain't gonna buy it. Just so you know, boy, some high-tech would come in handy right now. I haven't got any. So I'll tell you what we're gonna do. I'll figure out which way this goes. It don't go that way. It does go that way. I'm gonna put a bolt in here. If I knew where the rest of the bolts was, I'm gonna put a bolt in here. Actually, right there. Only need two. Cover go in this way. It's gotta go into this thing. But this bar's in the way. I'm getting under this thing. Like such. And under that thing. And once we're in this position, I'm gonna stick a bolt in here. Whoops. First. Once we're in this position, I'm gonna get this down there where it belongs. Get me another bolt in up here. Take one bolt out of here. Put it over here. Take this bolt out of here. And put it right back where it was. And then we'll start them all before we tighten any. What? That's not one of them. Maybe it is. It's probably the one for the bracket. Just for speed running. Man, I wish we'd have had these in the 80s. Could beat some flat rate times. Do they still do flat rate? I got a flat rate book from the early 50s that belonged to my dad. I should dig into that someday and show you some stuff. Speaking of flat rate, I went to Chrysler training in Detroit, the class we were in. We go into the place where they do the flat rate studies. And they've got a lift with fluorescent lighting in the floor. All the way around this thing. So they do the job, I can't remember if it was 7 times or 10 times. I know I haven't been clicking, but I'm talking. So just click these in your mind. Click, okay? Now do that for all the rest of them. So, it was either 7 or 10 times they repeat the job, and then they average the amount of time, and that's how they come up with a flat rate. Well, man, first off, it's Detroit, that's kind of the Rust Belt, and nobody ever works on something, hardly, in the Rust Belt that comes apart like it was brand new off the assembly line, which is what those guys are working on. And they certainly don't have lighted floors, so you're always at a disadvantage. But only under warranty. Alright, gotta put the geeb in it. That's not very exciting. So, I'll turn you on the next one. Well, what do you know? I'm not turning you on in the next adventure. Look at this. I said there was no tag on this to identify it as a Posi. Well, there it is. I think I'll gingerly remove the dirt to find out what's on it. This feels like cardboard. I don't know that they expected it to last very long. Could be plastic, I guess. Yeah, maybe I'll pull the cap out and have at it that way. Don't blood yet, but we have endured some pain. Oh. It's red plastic. Now, whether it's printed on there or embossed in there, it's printed. So no use of abrasives or strong solvents. U.S. Oh, I see. U.S. Except for this Scotch-Brite pad to get through the top layer. I'm using mineral spirits for solvent. Use. And this tag alone's worth the price of the car. Still nice and supple. The big reveal is about to happen. Lubricant. Posi traction. So it is a Posi. It's a genuine Posi. There you are, JDs and gentlemen. That is a beautiful thing. New shoes are on, drums back in place. Still got to turn the drums though, but that'll be another episode. Why, you might ask? Well, you'll find out in the other episode. Old shoes. Yes, there really is new shoes under there. But wait, there's more! which is this. Now, I have told you this is a Posi, and that's only because I think it is. What size is that? No, it's the wrong size. Take two. Small pieces of wood from the kindling pile can be helpful. Use that as a fulcrum if they don't slide out of your way. What's going on over there? Where'd the big wrench go? Man, I wish we'd have had it. Man, I wish we'd have had these in the 80s. Dog hair. Can't have that.